What's up and coming entertainment? It's Cubana Less, and if you're not up, you're not coming. So check yourself.
If you're ready for this,
say you're ready for this.
If you're ready for this,
say you're ready for this.
Are you ready for this? We're ready for this. Are you ready for this? We're ready for this. What we just can't miss.
We just can't miss.
What we just can't miss.
With a beat like this.
It's the joint.
Up and coming entertainment. We have history here. Stolen Dean. What's going on?
I'm chilling, my dude. Working, or as they say, hardly working. More or less focusing and plotting.
Yeah, a lot of people think that Stolen Dean just started yesterday. Tell us about the history.
Wow. Stolen Dean was founded 1898 by two individuals, one from Chicago, Harold Walter Stoll and Mr. Dean out of Brockton, Massachusetts. They basically had a dream of starting their own clothing and manufacturing company, including jerseys, helmets, footwear, basically a one-stop shop for the athlete. And these guys were basically salesmen, so they basically came together, put their money together, and they actually went coast to coast selling their product to baseball teams, soccer clubs, women's basketball. This women's basketball that far back. And basically the company started in 1898, and 111 years later, where we at right now?
2009, wow.
Yeah, 2000 and something. It's a minute.
Now, how did you get involved with this?
Fashion or Stolen Dean?
Stolen Dean itself.
Stolen Dean, basically I was brought in by a partner of mine who basically is a clothing manufacturer. You know, he manufactured for many brands from Starter, Adidas, Reebok, Apple Bottom, Echo, G3. And he basically gave me opportunity. He was like, you know, I was working with a partner, another friend of mine named Q over at P&B Nation. And he was like, well, what do you want to do with yourself? Like, really, how far you want to progress in this? I'm a jack of all trades. I did music, I was doing this. But I guess he was like, well, you have great contacts, you have great connections, and like everybody knows you, I speak to, likes you, respects you. They always have something positive to say about you. So what do you really want to do? Because, you know, with Stolen Dean, we're revamping the look of it. And basically through your connection, your marketing, your experience. And like I said, I never went to school for marketing. Marketing is basically hustling 101. You know, I had my art award in Read the 48 Laws of Power. You know, my teacher, C. Freemanell, always said the 48 Laws of Power is a very good book, but it's really art award for dummies. You know, if you read the art award, you don't need the 48 Laws of Power. And understanding that, I knew what my place was. And, you know, it just manifested itself into being the vice president of marketing at Stolen Dean, and Rucker basically grabbed me and was like, well, we need you to do our marketing as well. Stolen Dean didn't see a conflict with it, so I basically do the marketing for both Stolen Dean and Rucker. And, you know, Rucker is the Rucker vintage, started in 1946, has the same birthday as the NBA, founded by Holcomb Rucker to get kids out of the street. And that's something I'm very heavy into doing anyway, so I just grabbed their marketing position also. I basically run both of them.
And when did the crossover begin from the sporting apparel to the clothing line? What year did that start?
Well, you know, the sporting apparel to the clothing probably manifested itself actually maybe just a few years ago, because Stolen Dean's always been Stolen Dean has always been a clothing company. We did jerseys, we did, you know, hats, we did outerwear, but to sell to the normal consumer, we didn't do this until maybe into probably the 80s is when we actually targeted more or less the consumer than teams. So we were doing the heavy in teams. We were one of the first people to also address the NHL. So Stolen Dean was always doing things like with the NHL, baseball, football, different leagues. And in the 80s, this was more or less when jerseys and things like that became more and more popular. There was a niche for Stolen Dean, so we didn't try to go into it. It was just more or less a demand for Stolen Dean to come into it. You know, through the Carl Canais, in those days, there was no jerseys. You know, it was the Starter. But my partner was the manufacturer for Starter. So we basically just, the demand for it just called, it was the calling for it for the most part. The time was right, and it just manifested itself.
And I noticed you have an exclusive license to the Rucker products.
Yes. Rucker was owned by Chris Rucker, who's actually the grandson of Holcomb Rucker and Dexter Gordon. these two individuals basically looking to expand what they were doing with the Rucker. Basically came to Stolen Dean and said, well, can we work together to expand our dreams? So Rucker still a 100% owned, black-owned company by Holcomb Rucker, the grandson of Holcomb, and Chris, and then Dexter Gordon. Dexter used to actually be the marketing guy at Converse. So his experience basically made us realize, like, we need this guy on the team. And he had a lot to bring because they're bringing Rucker. Rucker is classic. You know, everybody played. Anyone who played basketball, if you ain't played the Rucker, you know, like that was a ghetto. That's like a ghetto pass right there. You know, it was like one of the classic games. Someone was just telling me yesterday was when they went to the Rucker. So Iverson and Marbury in the backcourt on the Rucker at the Rucker tournament, and they were playing in the same backcourt. It was like, holy mother, this is like mother God, like, you know, it's like damn, and like the classic moments that come from it. So it's like it's inevitable, like that brand for us to work together.
You know, we was looking for a trend. You know, the Jersey market crash, and Carhartt was the predominant canvas jacket. You know, we're manufacturers. We're basically all of us are in fashion. So it's like, how do we knock that niche? How do we get above that niche? So we like, well, what we do, we dress up a canvas jacket. We all like canvas jackets. It's easy to wear, easy to clean. He's like, yeah, but Carhartt selling this for only $80. Like, how do we sell one for like $150? Give it the bells and whistles. You know, this is actually California Surf. I actually just sent one of these over to Nipsey Hussle. I think he's on Epic Records. Just sent one over to him. And you know, we add something extra to it, raise the pockets, you know, and you know, give the consumer something else. This is why wherever you go on the street, any hood or wherever you at, like everybody's rocking Stolen Dean. This is actually the Black Bears. You go to another room now. This is actually the Mobile Black Bears. This was the first team that Hank Aaron ever played for. When he was in high school, he was signed by the Black Bears, Mobile, Alabama. When he was in high school, it was the first semi-pro team he ever had, Mobile Black Bears. So, you know, I love this. Is actually one of my favorites because, you know, when I go back and it helps me learn history, because when you're selling this stuff, you got to know what you're talking about. So you got to go back and like, well, you got to look into the history of each team, and it takes a lot of work. We also did hoodies. You know, this was gonna be actually ready for next season right here. This is gonna be next season right here. So this is not even ready yet. This is just a sample, so I can't show you all of them, but this is a sample of what's coming down the turnpike. People's not ready for this. You know, we did satin in the hoods, satin linings. This is a rich satin lining. So when people think about, you know, quality, and this is why I always tell brands, you know, the easiest thing is to knock off the next brand, but what are you doing to take yourself to the next level?
One thing I can say is Stolen Dean, Rucker, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with these brands. You can't go wrong with it. Like I said, Rucker, this is the logo for it. This is actually Pee Wee Kirkland. You can't go wrong with the brands we're working with. ESPN just did an event where they said the top 100 hallowed halls in the world. And they had Yankee Stadium, Boston Garden, Kaminsky Park, Camden Yards, and they had Rucker at, I believe, number 30. This is sports venues, like, period. And the Rucker Park was number 30. This is a park by the Polo Grounds where there's probably like only about 40 seats in here. And this park is recognized around the world for legacy, integrity. Like Holcomb Rucker started the tournament just by looking for a way to get kids off the street. And 60 some odd years, you know, 60 some odd years later, it's still here. You know, you go from Dr. J to when Dr. J said he first came to the game, to the Rucker Park, and they looked at him like, get out of here, you from Long Island, get to stepping on me. And he knew he had to come back. This is Dr. J. World B. Freeze, the Luau Sinners, Earl the Ghost. So when you look at the legacies of Stolen Dean and Rucker, you know, it's like the future's now, the future's tomorrow, and the future's forever. That's how I look at it. I don't believe these brands are going to live longer than my children is alive. I definitely want to thank you, Tom, for all that and coming through and understanding that we're bringing more to the game than just, you know, nothing. You know, we're actually bringing product. You know, yeah, you might say it costs them, but it's a history, it's a legacy behind all this stuff. Not just some nonsense or, you know, trying to get a quick dollar, but we actually care about a consumer, and most of our stuff is consumer friendly. Might cost a little bit more, but you're definitely going to be able to wear it for 3 seasons. Not that you should, though.
History on up and coming entertainment.